Welcome to the Lafayette Food Junkie Show on News Talk 96.5 KPEL. I'm your host, Tiffiany Decou, and joining us now is Abi Falgout and Manny Augello of Bread and Circus Provisions, Seriously Playful Food. They happen to make my Death Row fried chicken, and their Juicy Lucy's on Thursdays make me weep. I've been wanting to have them on the show for a while now. Thanks for coming on, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Okay, so how did you guys end up in Lafayette? Because I know Abi, you're from Lafayette, and you guys went to Natchitoches. What made y'all decide to come back to Lafayette?
It was kind of coincidental, really. I mean, we were in school in Natchitoches and got married actually right at the end of that. And I graduated a semester before Manny, and so I had job opportunities back home, and I really had no idea where the hell else to go. So coincidentally, I came back to Lafayette, and so did Manny, and I had kind of since then always were, this was a long time ago. This was like 10 years ago or something like that. So Lafayette was cool and fun, and there was a lot of opportunity, but it wasn't what it is now. And so we always kind of had one foot out the door, I guess, in a way, for a while. And now I don't know if I can imagine living anywhere else. But I drug Manny here, slightly unwilling, but.
Manny, when did you know that you wanted to cook for a living?
When did I know? It wasn't much of a choice. It was I grew up in the industry, and it's one of those things that's just a family craft, and I tried to get away from it for a while, and the one time that I did, started falling into this depression, and it was just obvious that is where I need to be. And then moving to Lafayette, the market was perfect to start something new, something fresh, and something that eventually turned out to be what now is all this stuff going on.
I'll give you a little background on that. Manny has a degree in criminal justice. So we talk about he was running away from this. He grew up in restaurants all his life, and he literally ran in the exact opposite direction. And now he's pretty much supplying the criminal justice system by owning a restaurant. But I have a degree in history. He has a degree in criminal justice. So naturally, we open a restaurant.
I just love that y'all mentioned that, because I have a degree in psychology with a minor in criminal justice, and I'm also not doing anything in my career of study. So that just goes to show how important college is for some people. Was your introduction to the restaurant world in Lafayette at Jolie's when you started as executive chef at Jolie's?
It was. I happened to move down right when the Jolie's building was first being acquired. So I was there from day one. I was the first person on board, gutting it out from the aftermath of two strip clubs, and went from there.
You kind of put Jolie's on the map, I would say, culinary-wise, when you stepped in. How did that feel? Because that's when the awards started coming, and the buzz started showing up around you as a chef. Was what you did at Jolie's. How did that feel?
It felt. It felt flattering, and of course, but it was never forced. It was the awards and the attention wasn't something that we were aiming for, but definitely not something that we shoot away. We just cooked the way we're meant to cook, and the way I was brought up cooking, and food that was honest and real, and people caught attention to it, and it became, the new farm-to-table movement of Lafayette, which is actually the second one. People forget the very first farm-to-table has been in Lafayette since the 80s. Charlie G's was the pioneer of it. People forget that. So we just, I think, reminded folks of this is the way that it can be done.
You guys were also doing a pop-up dinner series before it became popular in Lafayette too, called Blue Underground. Was this kind of like the under rumblings of the start of Bread and Circus?
It 100% was. It was really what spurred everything. And Jolie's too as well. I mean, we give a lot of credit to Steve Santillo, who owns Blue Dog and Jolie's. He's a true restaurateur. I mean, when he brought Manny in and me in for the PR, he let us do our thing. Like, he let us work as a team, and he trusted us, and he trusts his team, and that's what makes it so magical and wonderful there. And so he supported us too when we were like, well, we're also going to do this weird thing where we make people send us money in the mail, and then they don't know where they're going until 2 hours before the dinner. And that really was kind of absolutely ridiculous. I'm not gonna lie. The first dinner, no one knew who we were. We put all this stuff out. We were completely anonymous. We asked people to literally send us money to a P.O. box, and we promised them we'd send them a text 2 hours before, letting them know the location. And it was pretty spectacular, and it snowballed from there. And so we gave it a shot. And Lafayette, what I love most about Lafayette is they just embrace wacky ass things like that. It's like, okay, yeah, sure, let's give it a shot, And it really was great. That was a wonderful thing, and it did absolutely snowball into Bread and Circus.
Which brings us to the name of Bread and Circus. I am not a Mockingbird. I don't even know what the name of the series is. They just had the movies, but apparently it's something from the movies. It's way before that, Bread and Circus, but apparently it was in the movies, because one of the doctors that I worked for when you guys first opened was asking me about your name and if you got it from that book series. Do you want to explain where the name actually comes from? And it's not this book series, people.
I actually had no clue it was in this book series until just now, but it's kind of really cool. Bread and Circus, as I said before, I have a degree in history, and I'm a closeted nerd. Not so closeted anymore, though. Everybody knows I'm a big nerd. But Bread and Circus was something I studied my undergrad, and it's a terminology used by the ancient Romans, and the idea behind it was as long as the people were fed and had entertainment, then the politicians can kind of do what they wanted. But it snowballed over time. It kind of developed from kind of that really not so great term that used to manipulate people, manipulate the masses, and it became like a standard for society. So society is not just a group of people whose basic needs are met, but they also have some source of entertainment. So that's what elevates merely a group of people to a society, to a culture. And so that really that inspired us, because what we were trying to find in a name is something that sums up what we believe about food. And for us, food is necessary. We have to eat to survive. But it could be more than that. It can be soul-stirring, too, as well. And we like to think that the food at Bread and Circus feeds your body and your soul. It's inspiring. It makes you giggle. Makes you think differently about things. It makes you, excited. It makes you happy. But at the end of the day, it also feeds you. It's nourishing. And we take really good care of what quality food goes in everything we do. Everything is sourced. We really are serious about what we put in your body. And so I think to that, it kind of plays to both sides, that where we don't take things too seriously. We like to have a good time with what we do. But from an internal perspective, we take what ingredients goes into things and how we handle things incredibly seriously. So Bread and Circus summed that up, that how complex we feel about food and what we do in this industry.
And FYI, I just remembered the name of the book series. It is called Hunger Games. For anyone who was wondering, I know I totally blanked on that name. Oh, that should be a late night pop up. Yeah. All right, you are Sicilian, Manny, and how do you feel that the Sicilian cuisine compares to Cajun cuisine?
Okay, well, first we have to kind of acknowledge that the ingredients are totally different, but it is very odd how all the food traditions and the food culture is very similar. The boucherie, the animal might be different, but it's the same concept. Eating what's available now is something the Cajuns have done since day one. It would say very closed society, cut off from the rest of the world, from the rest of the country. So they depended on what they grew and what the seasons provided. And same thing in Sicily. It's an island. It's kind of closed off from everything else. But then you have things like sugarcane and rice and all these things that grow there as well. So it's, even though the applications and some of the ingredients are different, it wasn't hard to link to. And gumbo is gumbo, but I still put something that I've learned from childhood into it. You can't taste it, but the process is the recipe follows a set of instructions. It's not quite exactly Cajun. It might have a little Sicilian influence into it.
I have to say, one of the first dishes that was on y'all's menu, and I'm going to mispronounce it because I am not Cajun, but it's fraiseurs, which is pretty much organ meat stew. You pretty much nailed it. And I still talk about it to this day. This is one of the best things that I've ever eaten. And I jokingly told Abi at the time that the smell was so great and that you guys should like bottle it and make it into a men's cologne, because it smelled so good. So I mean, you guys, the things that you are doing here with this restaurant is fantastic. I mean, I'll just say this really quickly. I ask every single chef and guest pretty much who comes on the Lafayette Food Junkie radio show what their favorite restaurant is in town, and every single one of them says Bread and Circus. I mean, what does that feel like?
It's incredibly flattering. I mean, coming from a background in PR, doing the branding and things like that for this, one of the things that always stuck out, and that's one thing that is consistent between the branding, the front of the house, the back of the house, and everything we do, Manny and I do, is that we want it to be sincere. Like, this is our baby. Like, this comes from our heart, and we mean everything we do here, and we're very deliberate about everything we do. And so, from a PR perspective, that I feel like that shows. And so, you taste the sincerity in the food, because Manny's pouring his heart and soul in it, and it feels like home. It feels like a place you're welcome, or at least we hope. And it's just incredibly flattering when people are like, this is our favorite spot. You know, we get that all the time. And then like other fellow chefs and other foodies are just like, this is perfect. This is everything I want. Or we come all the time, or it's our favorite place, or whatever. Whatever the compliment is, it feels incredibly good, because it feels like you invited someone into your home, you opened up your soul, and they loved everything about it. And that's what really makes it flattering.
And Manny, as a chef, I mean, how does that feel to be held in such high regards with your peers in Lafayette?
Definitely humbling, because my list of top and favorite chefs in Lafayette is very long, and at the end of an 18-hour day, the last thing I want to do is eat my own food. So I can't agree with them that this is my favorite place. I don't want to come here and eat. But like Abi said, what we do is try to be as humble as possible. From the recipes and the food that we do serve, and the complexity of it is beyond the scenes. We try not to make that visible. The complexity is in the sourcing and caring for the ingredient and caring for our staff and making sure that we provide an environment for our staff and our guests that is conducive to what we want in a place when we go out and eat, which is somewhere that feels like home, somewhere you can come back to and find your favorites, and also a place where it challenges you just enough to open up your palate and find out something new, something interesting, something you might not have had before.
Which brings me to the idea of late night dining that you guys do every Saturday night, that's kind of taken off in Lafayette. Partially because Lafayette does not have a lot in the option of late night dining, but also because you guys are doing great things at the late night dining. I know the Bob's Burgers pop-ups that y'all have been doing, the lines have been almost out the door. What made y'all want to do late night?
So late night honestly started as something we never thought would be popular. We wanted a place to go late night, but mainly we wanted a time where we could let our circus freaks, as we refer to them, or our staff, just go crazy. Like, do whatever you want. You own the place, run with it. And they do that. And, you know, it's their one chance to be incredibly creative. They can throw anything out there. It's one night. You know, we give them the space to fail, and they never do. It's really amazing. And I think it's the atmosphere. You know, I tell a lot of people, too, that some people are like, oh, I love Bread and Circus. I go every whatever for lunch or something. And I say, oh, well, you haven't even been to Bread and Circus if you just came for lunch. Because if you come for a Saturday brunch, it's a completely different restaurant. It's not, and then dinner is completely different. And it's not just the menu, it's the complete atmosphere. And I have no idea how that happened. That was not intentional, but it's just the energy in this place completely changes every time the menu changes, or the attitude of our staff changes, or things like that. And they're all wonderful in their own way, but totally different. And so late night has this whole vibe to it that it's just, we didn't mean to create it, but it's just pure magic. It's wonderful.
And I have to say, I mean, I've come to a lot of the late nights here. For you to say you didn't think it would be popular, it's kind of surprising to me. I say this because we don't have a lot late night dining here, but at the same time, the Taco Bells at 3 o'clock in the morning are like wrapped around the building. Mel's Diner's always busy. So clearly, Lafayette needs more late night dining options.
Yeah, but there's a thing behind that, and we've been in the restaurant industry for quite a while now, and so we do know that there's a reason why there's not a lot of demand for late night dining. Up until this point, Lafayette hasn't had the demographic to support high end late night dine, and I say high end, I mean we're not fancy here, and we're certainly not expensive. We're doing dollar high life, so we're not
$2 Jameson.
Yeah, $2 Jameson, shots of Jameson. I mean, it's not your fanciest highbrow.
Sloshed what they're cooking food.
Yeah, but we most certainly are not Taco Bell or Mel's, turn and burn kind of place at night. Yeah, so a lot of credit to where Lafayette is going, because we couldn't do full service late night every night. We couldn't support that because it's once a week makes it special. And actually for a while it was just every once in a while, because we do them kind of consistently, and the crowd couldn't keep up with it, and now it's like we have an over the top demand for it. But if we did it every single night we had dinner service, it wouldn't be as popular. So I want to give Lafayette some credit in a weird way by saying that we're just growing into those kind of things. And so it's not that the restaurants in this town are purposely doing it out of spite or anything like that, but we got to put money where our mouth is, and it started bubbling up before us. I mean, right the time we had the idea, there was a skeleton crew dinners popping up, and I'm not gonna lie, we spied the hell out of that. We went the first few times, we purposely went and to see like who's gonna show up and who's gonna spend money, and it worked. So a lot of credit to Lafayette that they're actually supporting this. It's kind of a cart before a horse kind of thing, I guess.
I'm actually very thankful that you guys are doing this. So thank you very much. The pizza slices alone. And then a lot of times, I work during the week, so I don't get to try the Juicy Lucy's, and then you'll have them on the Bob's Burger menu or like the late night menu. So thank you so much, both of you, it's just for me. It's just for me. So we mentioned before, you guys were married. You are not married anymore. And you actually went into this business not being married. What is that like?
Well, I think it's pretty funny because when people meet us and they know we were married, they assumed we were married. We just, how did you get through the divorce while being in business together? And I'm like, well, we actually started this after our divorce. Bread and Circus was something, actually, when we decided to get divorced, the one thing was, will we still be able to work together? Because that was a deal breaker. We'd stay married if we had to, just to work together. We were young, and we do work so well together, and we're best friends, and so you get confused when you're really young and you think that means you should get married, and it worked out great. We have a beautiful daughter together, so they've got something good out of that.
Souvenir.
Yeah, good souvenir. And and it gave birth to this relationship that we were able to put up with each other's bullshit, because we really beat the living daylights out of each other, emotionally on a regular basis. But if we weren't married before, I think we wouldn't be able to do what we do, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of... I think the truth of why it works so well lies in you don't necessarily have to speak to the other person to know what he or she wants whenever you're trying to make a business decision. It's just implied in your decision making. I am doing this not because I want to, but because it's also good for Abi, myself, and the business as a whole. So it expedites every process that I can think of. It just works. I don't know. It sounds weird. It sounds crazy. It shouldn't work. I don't know.
Y'all's dynamic is actually amazing. It's awe-inspiring, and Ann Falgout, who has been guest co-host on the show many times, and is a good friend of mine. She fits into this dynamic as well, because Abi is married to her ex-husband, and it's to watch them all with the kids and how they all co-parent together. It really does take a village, and you guys are proof that divorce doesn't have to be an ugly thing.
Yeah, and I think that's the bottom line, is that when Manny and I work together, we don't see each other as exes. We're family. And we have a daughter together, and my stepkids go to his house, and my daughter goes to my ex's house with her step siblings, and we do things together. Like, we just don't think about it. It's not who's married to who or what. That's a subsidiary thing. The past is the past, and the bottom line is we're family and we're stuck with each other, so we might as well make the best of it,
And I'll just say that Amelie always mistakes me for Anne, and I love those accidental hugs that I always get from her too.
She gives good hugs.
She gives great hugs. I'm like, I am not Anne, but I will totally take this hug from you. And then I think she realized that I wasn't Anne, and then her face was like, who did I just hug? It was nice. Recently, there was some controversy over bacon being blacklisted. The horror. As someone who makes cured meats, Manny, how did you react to all this, and what's your take on it?
I found it pretty funny. You have to distinguish between mass-produced novelties, or I wouldn't even call the bacon on the shelves bacon. It's not bacon. It's infused salt pork, and then craftsmanship of what is made from an animal that was slaughtered a few days before, raised with care, and you are not going to introduce these ingredients into it. They're going to give you a final product that is just the same as all the other crap you find on the store shelves. So whenever the whole thing about bacon came out, did I think it was going to affect our bacon sales? No, because it's miles apart. But the sad thing is that is what's rarely available, is the nitrites and overly salted meats infused with all these different chemicals that our bodies aren't meant to eat. Right. But if you take it back 60, 70 years, then that's what you find in Bread and Circus. It's things that are made traditionally the way they're supposed to be. So while our bacon might not come out beautifully pink like the stuff at the store does, it won't kill you.
I actually bought my dad some bacon from you guys when you were at the farmer's market. And, I had bought it for myself, but I gave it to my dad, so he would make it. And he actually flipped out over this bacon. He got so excited. He was like, this is the bacon from my childhood. He was like, I haven't had bacon like this since I was a kid. He was dancing while making the bacon. He was so excited. And it was just, he was like, this is what bacon is supposed to be like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we serve it with the rind on, not to be snobs and say, oh, this is only the way we serve it, but because that's what it is. If you want bacon comes from the belly. The belly has skin on the very top layer. We're not going to apologize for that, but taking it off and wasting it. Because if you leave it on while the curing process and the smoking, it adds a certain level of flavor. So everything in our meats is done the way it's meant to be done for a reason.
I remember I had a friend ask me if I was going to stop eating bacon, and I kind of just laughed in her face. And then she also mentioned she's traveled around Europe a whole lot. She's a big fan of Spanish hams, and she was like, I feel like something that expensive shouldn't be bad for you. And I was like, well, it kind of doesn't work that way, but right. So I said, but I agree with where you're going with it.
So I guess a thing, something that people don't realize about Manny and I is we started, our passion for food, of course, has been throughout our entire lives, but when we were first starting this journey in college, we were passionate about our cultural histories. We obviously have both very similar but distinct cultural histories, and the food has been a huge part of it. So we were very passionate about the old ways of doing things because we just felt like they were better, they tasted better. And then at one point we watched some food documentaries like Food Inc. and things like that, and we became very passionate about the ingredients and what you're putting in your body. And having a child together and raising a child, we're still incredibly passionate about it. And that's something we don't talk about, but what fuels Bread and Circus and what's fueled us being so passionate about the farm to table movement, because they're not wrong about the fact that getting crap bacon from the grocery store is going to kill you. Like all these hormones in the meat and all this, and I'm trying to sound like a hippie on a soapbox, but all these pesticides in our fruits, all this unnatural stuff, and we're basically eating plastic. And that's what we're trying to get away from here. Our food may be more expensive in some instances and may have the rind on and may be inconvenient in some instances or something like that. We kind of thought that people would shudder at that because we have been a society of, unwrap and eat and instant food and instant gratification. But this culture in Lafayette has completely embraced farm to table for what it is. And that's the shining star. That's the whole point of it, is that when you eat the fried chicken here, you're eating organic chicken that we source specifically because it will not kill you. It's delicious and it's good for you. You can feel good about what you're putting in your body, even if it seems really devilish and indulgent. Yeah.
And I love that you guys also try to use all parts of the animal too. Case in point, fried chicken skins.
Right, exactly. And that was another thing for us, too, is that we're not the kind of people that are flippant about animal sacrifices, I guess. That sounds kind of strange. But we really do respect and honor what farmers do and what the animals do and how they provide for us. And yes, we have meat hanging all over this place. And yes, we're really big, avid meat eaters. But we're also very respectful of the donation, the life that was given for it. And we want to honor that. So things are on the bone because the bone is delicious. And, we use everything. We don't waste these animals because they're very incredibly special to us.
I'm sorry, but if anyone ever walked into Bread and Circus and didn't expect to see meat hanging from they're in the wrong place. I mean, you guys do charcuterie. Like, that's part of the curing process. So if you're uncomfortable by meat, maybe not the best restaurant. Although you guys do fabulous vegetarian options as well.
I would say that's one of the things. Another thing that's very unknown about us is that they run a fabulous vegetarian special every week for lunch, and something new and something fresh. We have vegetarian options on our menu, and I think that's a good sign to people that respect meat very well too, because we know that, or respect food in general, because we know that vegetables are just as beautiful and wonderful as pork shank is or anything else. And so everything, you won't find anything forgotten on this menu. You're not going to find a chicken breast because we had to put it on there. You're not going to find a vegetarian option because, some vegetarian's going to come in. Like, everything is stellar, and they put their heart and soul into every single thing. And back of the house, sometimes the vegetarian options is our favorite thing, and even we're shocked by that.
So what's next for Bread and Circus?
Waking up tomorrow, hopefully.
Coming back to work. Just keep doing what we love to do. Is I guess maybe strange to say that there's not a bigger picture constantly in the works, but we organically let Bread and Circus go wherever it wants to go. So as long as we come in, put our blinders on, do what we do best, and not worry about the rest of the world and what's going on, that's what's most important to us.
So Bread and Circus was actually about 4 or 5 years in the making before. It started with the Underground Dinner Club, and we almost opened a food truck at one point, and nothing really worked out. And we're very, like Manny said, we're very organic in our process. And so we throw things out there, and if they don't start going in a direction we wanted to go in, then we kind of put it on hold. Like the pizzas, we were doing pizzas for a while, and we love doing that. It's something that Manny is very passionate about, and I think it's something that we need. We need really good pizzas in town. And so I was really excited about seeing that, and it just didn't fit really well. It was really too difficult. We were forcing our kitchen to stretch too much, and so we put it on hold. I mean, that would be a great thing to do one day, bring back in some capacity. If Manny and I ever got a good night's sleep, who knows what would happen the next day? But we have ideas all the time, and we wish we could do them all. But right now, we're waiting to see what pops up, I guess. There's nothing in the works.
All right, we're going to do some quick fire questions for you guys. Coffee or tea?
Coffee first, then tea.
Okay, so how do you drink your coffee?
Well, before I got pregnant, to begin with, I drank my coffee black. And every pregnancy, I drink it sweeter and creamier. So who the hell knows now?
Manny, coffee, how do you take it?
Black.
Okay. Post-shift drink. I know, Abi, you can't abide right now, but if you could abide, what would be your post-shift drink?
Right now, because I'm 8 months pregnant, all of the drinks, I want every single last one of them. But I'm a champagne drinker. I really love bubbles. And if I really want a cocktail, I do our Devereaux, which is bourbon and champagne. And I don't get happier than bourbon and champagne.
And that is my favorite Golden Girl. So there you go.
Favorite after dinner drink?
Yeah.
Miller High Life and Jameson.
Which coincidentally is the special for Bread and Circus late nights. Love it. Okay, what is one kitchen utensil must that you must have?
Oh, easily. Immersion blender. I used it to make baby food when Amelie was little, and I sneak in all kinds of healthy things. I hope my kids aren't listening because I sneak in all kind of stuff into sauces and things like that. But it's hands down the best thing ever.
Food mill.
What are you craving right now?
Everything. All of the things.
Water.
What is in your fridge at home right now?
Everything.
Nothing.
And lastly, what is your death row meal? Oh,
Probably good Cajun food, like rice and gravy, something like that.
Tomato sandwich in the height of summer on fresh bread, olive oil, sea salt. Done.
that is a great, that is a very unique answer, Manny. We haven't had one like that, so props for the uniqueness on that menu, on that item. Thank you guys so much for joining me for this interview. It was great to sit down with you guys finally.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Right.
That was fun.
Yay!
It was over already?
That's it. Yeah. 30 minutes exactly.